In a few weeks' time, we have got the autumn budget that's going to hit landlords and entrepreneurs across the country. Now, there's some very strange things that are happening in the property market right now. And we're going to be talking in this video about number one, what they are, number two, how they affect you, and number three, what should you do about it. So one of the strange things that's coming is landlords, and this is historic. This is not the sort of thing that happens. Landlords are in a position, many landlords, where they are paying more tax than they are actually earning in profit. Now, the first time this got introduced was by the Tories. People often say to me, Russell, you're only hitting Labour, the Tories weren't much better. I agree. The Tories were terrible as well. The Tories, back in 2016, brought in a rule called Section 24. And basically what that said is, you cannot claim your mortgage interest payments as a tax-deductible expense. So, in plain English, this is how this works. And it's a bit more complicated than I'm going to say, because you can claim a certain amount of credit back. But in essence, if you are making a rental income of £2,000 per month, and your mortgage interest payments are £1,500 a month, you are making £500 profit. You should be paying tax on the £500. What Section 24 says is no, you can't claim that £1,500 mortgage interest payments as a tax-deductible expense. Therefore, you're paying tax on the full £2,000. Now, if you've got a property which is not super profitable, and we saw this a lot in COVID, because what happened to mortgage interest rates? They went through the roof. See, when the law first came in, it wasn't such a big deal because mortgage interest rates were so low. When they went to 5, 6, 7%, all of a sudden, your mortgage interest could literally be more than your rent or the same. So you're paying more in tax than you're making in profit, which is crazy. Now, Labour are pouring fuel on that fire right now because in this autumn budget, we're fully expecting, this is almost certainly going to happen, landlords are going to pay national insurance on their rent as well. Oh, and by the way, this is only for landlords that own property in their personal name. So all the big corporations, Lloyds, Citra Living, BlackRock, people that are investing in the UK from abroad, this doesn't apply to them. No, this just applies to small amateur landlords. Most of these, by the way, who are working people who have another job, they would not describe themselves as a landlord, they would describe themselves as a doctor or as a lawyer, and they own a couple of properties. And now these properties are actually losing them money. And there's lots of other things that Labour are expected to introduce in the autumn budget. Another one that's a joke is the VAT. They're talking about cutting the VAT threshold down from £90,000 all the way to £30,000. This is crazy. This is going to harm your hairdressers, your personal trainers, your electricians, your builders, anyone that's got a B2C business. Just think of the businesses that are earning £30,000 a year. This is not the elite. This is not billionaires. This is not rich, wealthy people. This is working people who are helping to grow the economy. I grew up in Wolverhampton. It wasn't a rich area. I didn't come from a rich background. I lived in a council house. I know lots of people that I grew up with who deliberately choose to stay on benefits because they earn more on benefits than they would in a low-end job. The problem with this government, and the government before as well, we're not letting the Tories off the hook here, the problem with this government is they reward laziness. They reward leeches. And do you know who they punish? The hard-working people. Even worse, the entrepreneurs, the property investors, the people that are actually growing the economy, they are the people that are getting hit. The other thing that they're bringing in right now, this is just being signed off, it's being given the royal approval by King Charles, has given it the royal approval, is the Renters' Rights Bill. Another attack on landlords. Now, some people say, it's fair, you shouldn't be able to evict a tenant for no fault. Here's the truth of it. no one ever gets evicted for no fault. I've been a tenant many times. I rented for years, and at the same time as being a tenant, guess what I was? I was also a property investor. So I've actually worn both hats. I've been a tenant, I've been a landlord. So I can sympathise with tenants, and I don't think all the rules are bad. However, scrapping Section 21 is ridiculous because landlords only evict their tenants when there's a fault. So why do they use the no-fault eviction? Why don't they prove fault? The reason is, the way to prove fault is to go to court. And guess what? Going to court is slow, expensive, time-consuming. If I have a tenant who doesn't pay rent, what should I do? Prove that they're a slow payer, take them to court for them to pay me the day before, and now it resets the whole thing, or just serve them a Section 21. Get rid of them, get a good tenant in. Of course, that's what you're gonna do. So scrapping it, it's gonna slow up the whole process, because now every case is gonna have to go to court. If you go to court, if you're in business, if you're dealing with a lot of clients, you'll end up going to court. The court system sucks. Everything the government does sucks. And the court system is one of those things. It's super slow. The amount of cases I've had where the day before, or even on the day, they cancel the case because of a lack of judges. We're going to fill it up with loads more cases. So some of the principles of renters reform, they're not terrible ideas in theory, but in practice, we'll see. So all of this is hitting landlords really hard, hitting them with taxes, hitting them with legislation, hitting them with extra costs, hitting them with having to renovate their properties to a higher standard, higher energy efficiency, all this stuff. So the amateur landlords, what they're doing is they're leaving. Now what does this do? This causes a bit of a problem with the market. Now is not a particularly good time to sell, but landlords are desperate. They want to get out. We don't want to get hit with these higher taxes. So house prices, of course, are now dropping. But the interesting thing is, who's buying in? Well, the corporations. The corporations are buying in. BlackRock, I mentioned, Lloyds, investors from Dubai. Did you know in London, right now, investment in London from foreign investors has gone up 300% in the last year. London has dropped, the house prices in London have dropped to 2015 prices. That's 10 years of capital appreciation wiped out. But it gets worse. Because in that time as well, inflation has gone through the roof. So while it might be the same, if you go to a house in Chelsea, on paper it's the same now as it was in 2015, but in real terms, it's dropped down more like 2006, 2007, before the big crash that came in 2008. So house prices are on their knees in London. And I've been saying for years, don't buy in London. I'm beginning to change my mind on that. They've dropped so much right now. I'm glad I didn't buy London 10 years ago. I think it's been the correct advice for the last 10 years. But right now, London's looking pretty attractive. London is on sale. It's absolutely bottomed out. Buying in London might not be a bad thing. How do I know? Guess where the rich people are buying? They're buying in London. All the poor people are scared. All the poor landlords, amateur landlords, that wouldn't consider themselves a landlord. They're a doctor with 2 houses. They're selling up. The rich people are buying in. It's all done on purpose. What I would say to you, if you're a landlord or you're thinking of getting into property, do it now. Everything is dirt cheap right now. We've seen this through history again and again and again. We're in a crash right now. Do you know how many crashes there have been in the last 100 years? Not many. 3 major crashes. We had the oil crisis in 1970s. In 1973, the average house price was £10,000. 2 years later, it had dropped 30%, all the way to 7 grand. What happened then? 7 years later, it was back to 10. And then what happened? Skyrocketed. It went from 7 grand in 1975 to 70 grand in 1989. That's a 10x return. 10x return in 15 years. Of course, then we had another crash, didn't we? Early 1990s, there was another recession, dropped from 70 to 55. Then what happened? Same thing. 5 to 9 years later, the market had fully recovered, and then what? Shot up all the way to 2008. Then we had another crash. Then what happened? 5, 6, 7 years later, depending on where you are in the country, 8, 9 years maybe, it was back to normal. Then it shot up again to 2020. We are in a crash right now. We are in this cycle. We are in one of those 5 to 9 year cycles. This is why The experts are predicting house prices are going to skyrocket. Economists are saying they think they might double in the next 5 years. Now, I personally got into property just after 2008 because even though I didn't have any money, I was working for my dad at the time. I was living in a council house, but I saw the opportunity. I saw that house prices were bottomed out and I found a way in. I used other people's money. I learned about property. I joint ventured and I found a way and I bought my first property in 2010 using none of my own money. It skyrocketed since because I knew this is what rich people do. We are in that same opportunity right now. This is an exciting time to invest in property. Yes, landlords are being hammered by legislation, by taxes, but this is a deliberate act to force out the small amateur landlords. There are ways around this. For example, if you own your property in a company, which anyone can do, it's not just Lloyd's that can own stuff for a company, you can as well. You can set up a company on Companies House in about 15 minutes. Suddenly, this new national insurance isn't going to apply. Suddenly, Section 24 doesn't apply. There are so many loopholes designed for the rich to use, not designed for you. They want you to sell your houses, let the councils, let the government, let them be the landlords. And people are pushing this, abolishing landlords. No one that wants to abolish landlords has ever had the council as their landlord. Because if they had the council as their landlord, I guarantee you this, they would not want us to get rid of landlords. They wouldn't want it. It'd be a disaster. This is why you need to understand what is going on. Do not listen to the press. Do not listen to the newspapers. Do not listen to the landlords that are struggling. You don't want to struggle. Why would you listen to someone that's struggling? It's like getting advice from someone who's drowning. They're drowning. Let me show you how to swim. Swim like this. Oh, we'll do that. We'll do what they're doing. No! Listen to someone who's swimming. This is why we've put on a free 1-hour training with me, showing you step by step how I went from nothing to building an £8 million portfolio in a very similar time to right now. It's my gift from me to you. So click the link, we're going to put it underneath the video. Join me on the training. It's a 1-hour webinar. It's completely free, no strings attached. I'll see you there.